Today I'm going to show you how to modify your RV AC unit to make it more efficient, increase output, and reduce noise. And I'm going to show you guys how to do this modification on the open design ACs as well as the ACs with the framed out metal wall. We need to remove the plastic panels and framing off the AC unit. So pop out the removable panels first. You should be able to find screws that hold the rest of the framing in. Remove these screws and the rest of the plastic framing. Now this is what the inside of many RV AC units look like. On one side is the blower fan from the AC unit that's on the roof that blows cold air down into your ducts. We're going to call that the cold side. On the other side is the warm air return, and we're going to call that the warm side. Here is why it's inefficient. For one, cold air coming from the blower fan is not forced directly into the ducts. Also, a lot of this cold air will mix with the warm air that's naturally rising up into the warm air return. So it's a very inefficient design. Now, not long ago, people realized that these two sections should be separated, so they started putting a piece of insulation board in between these two areas. And that's part of the modification that we're going to do today. We're also going to build a baffle that will direct air from the blower fan more directly right into the ducts. We're also going to do a better job than the factory did of sealing this entire area up, which means your AC will distribute cold air quicker through your ducts and with less resistance and noise, making your AC unit much quieter. Unfortunately for me and for some of you guys, we have a hoop to jump through first before we can start building our baffle. This is designed with a metal separator wall or metal divider wall, and the thermostat control is mounted right here in our face instead of up in the AC unit a little bit higher like it is in the other designs. And even though our design has a metal divider wall, it still sucks. It's full of air leaks and it's not insulated well enough. So for all of you unlucky folks with this design, we need to modify this metal wall nonsense first. So let's begin. First, I'm going to disconnect my shore power and my 12-volt battery power just to be safe because we're going to be working around wires. I'm going to unscrew and drop this thermostat control box from the framing. There's more than enough thick wiring in this control box, so you should be fine just letting it hang, or if you want, you can tape it up to the ceiling for now. Now let's remove the metal framing and separator wall. Because the baffles we're going to build will all be above this framing, the only thing we need to do is remove this separator wall. Now we have our metal divider wall cut out and everything's ready to go, but we're going to put this to the side for a second. And as you see, minus the control box, everyone's AC design should look pretty similar at this point. The manufacturers don't do a great job of sealing this area up, so let's do a little bit of housekeeping in here. Remove any loose metal tape, reapply new to simply seal everything up in this area where you see places that air could leak through. Seal around the ducts, the port by the blower fan, the edges by your ceiling, and the warm air return. Once everything is sealed up, we can move to the next step, which is building the baffles. So now we're going to start building our baffle. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a wall right in between the cold side and the hot side, and it's going to go right up against this duct right here. So we need to measure from here to the other side, which is about 14.5 from the top down, and we're going to make it short 1 inch because what we're going to do is put a piece down here underneath everything, and because we're using 1 inch board, we want to make this 1 inch short. So this is about 6 inches, so we're going to make it 5 inches. Now we just want to test fit it before we move on. Make sure it's right up against the edge of your duct. And don't worry about having perfect fitment, guys, because we're gonna tape all this stuff closed. But this is right up against the top here, comes down to the other duct over here, and it's right up against this duct here, and we have an inch left at the bottom for the bottom piece that we're gonna put in. Okay, before we go any further, if you had the style of AC that you didn't have the divider wall right here, you still have your metal framing around all of this and you never had to remove these bolts. And you'll have to notch out the baffles as you fit them before you install them. A friend of mine, Chris, over at Why Wait, also did this modification on his YouTube channel, and he has that style of air conditioner, and he shows you a real nice, easy way to notch these baffles out. I'll put a link to that video down in the video description below. But if you did have the style with the metal wall, we needed to pull these bolts to get that whole assembly down. So what you're gonna do next, if you had that style with the metal wall, just thread your bolts back up here, and then you're gonna mark with some painter's tape and a marker where that bolt lands. You're going to have to notch your baffles to leave room to get the bolts back in, because unfortunately for the metal wall design, the bolts have to be removed first to install the metal frame back in when we're all done. So for now, you only need to install the bolts on the cold side. We are not putting any baffles on the warm side, so you can leave those out until it's time to put everything back together. Okay, so now the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna build a baffle that goes from the very top of this duct over to the edge of where the blower fan comes out. So we're going to want to take a measurement from here to the edge over here, and that's 8 inches. We want to measure from the top of the duct right to the edge, or close to the edge of the port where the blower fan is. We're going to call that 6. And this might not make a lot of sense right now, but you'll understand as we move through. So we're going to put one here on this side and one here on this side, because there's a duct over here that you can't see. This side's going to be 4 by 8. This one's actually 4 8 1/4. So let's go cut those pieces. So we've cut out our side pieces here, and hopefully you can get an idea of what we're doing. So air is going to come out of the blower port here and straight down right into the vent. We're going to eventually build the bottom baffle with a TP design, so that air comes right out of the port, down the TP into this, into this duct, and down into this duct. Because this is 1 inch thick, what we're gonna do is just trim these sides down at a 45-degree angle here and a 45-degree angle here, so it sits a little more flush up against here. Now it doesn't, again, have to be perfect, guys. We're gonna end up using the metal tape to seal all this stuff up. So let's go ahead and cut our 45-degree angle off the back of these. So now with our angles cut off the back, this should fit pretty close to flush, right up against here and right here. Next, you're going to want to take these top baffle pieces, put them in, and just tape it in real quick, temporarily for now. And we're going to mark on here where we need to notch for the bolt. So you might be asking, why don't I just put the framing back up, leave the bolts in, and notch everything as I build it? Problem with my design is this metal frame has braces right here, and it's not going to allow you to build a baffle and get it behind here. It's just too big. So you can either do it this way, or you can cut out the whole center of that metal frame, but I don't recommend doing that because we need to remount this when we're all done. So I just cut a notch out here. Again, doesn't need to be airtight. We can tape all this stuff up. That's what it will look like once that side of the baffle is completely taped up. And if you see that little black dot right there, there is foil tape over that, but I'll be able to punch that bolt right through that hole when I go to mount the framing back up once we're all done. Don't forget to do the other side, and then we can move to the next step. Okay, so we have our top baffles in. I put my divider wall back in for reference, so now you guys can see this starting to take shape. We're going to build a floor that goes across this whole area here, and 2 baffles that form a TP on top, so when the air comes down through here it's channeled directly into the ducts. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure my width again on both sides. Now we're going to measure from this side of the wall because we want it to sit underneath the whole thing. So we're going to go from here, and we're at 9.5. The other side, also 9.5. So we're just going to test fit our floor, and I can feel that that fits right up against the divider wall back here. So everything looks good. Now we're just going to build 2 pieces on top of this floor. One that goes this way, one that goes this way. So I'm going to put this in here for reference. And right where the blower fan port is, I'm going to pick the center and just mark it on the floor. So I'm going to put half my teepee on this side, half my teepee on this side. Okay guys, let me show you how I built this teepee. So here is the floor that we made and the center point of the blower fan port. So I cut one piece 4 by 8.5, one piece 3 by 8.5, and this is 9.5, but remember we got to make this 8.5. We need an inch here because that divider wall is going to sit here. So you're going to take the one that's 4 inches, put it over top of the one that's 3 inches, and center it right over that line, leaving 1 inch on this side, and this side will be right up flush against the bottom. Then you'll just cut the 2 pieces off at a 45-degree angle on the bottom so it sits nice and flat. So we have our baffle built and taped up. I made a notch here and a notch here for the mounting bolts. So we're just going to test fit this. And we'll just seal these holes up once we get everything put back in. So let me try to show you what it looks like inside with the divider wall off. But as you can see, air comes from the port, blows directly into the duct on that side and into the duct on that side. Okay guys, we're getting close to being finished. Next you're going to put your divider wall back in. You're not going to have access to any of this once you put your floor in, so you're going to want to tape all these seams with metal tape, and this will be permanently installed. So now we have the divider wall permanently taped in, and we can start putting our baffle in. Once we have the bottom baffle in, tape where it meets the divider wall. Also tape the seam up the side of the wall, the top, and of course the bottom of the baffle around the ceiling. And this is what it'll look like once the entire baffle is taped in. So let's go ahead and put the framing back in now. So because this box sticks out much further than the tab that the control box mounted to, I bent this tab using pliers, slid the control box down behind the tab, making it a pretty tight fit. I'm going to secure it by using metal tape around this box because I really don't want to put a screw in it. So I went overkill with the metal tape on the box over the tab against the back wall, and as you can see, it's not going anywhere. Now, one thing worth mentioning, because the cold air side is closed off, you will lose the dump vent feature, but honestly, you're not going to need it after you do this modification. So if I had to do this modification again, I might have considered cutting all of the interior framing out on the cold side, leaving just that tab that we bent up. It would have made notching the baffles a little bit easier, but it probably wouldn't have saved a whole lot of time. That is all for this episode. Stay safe, and until next time, happy camping, everyone.